Hi, my name is Dante. I play in the Overwatch League for the Houston Outlaws. Tracer is my most played hero and I've peaked 4,800 plus with her. This is my ultimate guide on how to play Tracer. Similar to my Echo guide, this video will be broken down into 7 different sections: Tracer's abilities and cooldown timing, Tracer's ultimate pulse bomb, Tracer matchup guide, identifying a playstyle, map structure, movement, and pathing, Tracer map guide, frequently asked questions you may still have. Tracer's abilities and cooldown timing. Tracer's kit is all about finding balance with your cooldowns. She's extremely squishy, so you really need to know how to manage aggression and get the most out of your blinks. If you misuse blinks, you lose a lot of opportunities to play aggressive and you will either die or not get enough done. Blinks. When you're playing Tracer, I would recommend always trying to have one blink or recall on cooldown. It's really easy to die on this hero, so you always need to have a cooldown to get out safely. Try not to use blinks when you don't need to. Here's an example. When the enemy team isn't in your LOS, try to charge blinks and play sneaky so they can't hear you and you'll have enough blinks to duel them. Earlier this year, Tracer's blink got buffed and she can now blink a bit higher, which allows her to get to a lot of new high ground spots. Here's a clip demonstrating that. Okay, this one is like somehow a full head above you.
Discord Tracer.
Recall plus blink melee combos. Typically after you use recall, I would recommend just chilling for a few seconds until you have more cooldowns up. Normally you'll be in a safer spot after you use recall, so this will be a good opportunity to charge your blinks back up. You can also use recall to regain your high ground position from a few seconds ago. Generally, you can start to play more aggressive when your recall is at 5 seconds left on cooldown because you can probably stall till you get the rest of your blinks back. It's really important that you manage your aggression in intervals based on your recall cooldown. Make sure you don't waste your recall since it's a really important ability and you can't safely play aggressive without it being close to available. The biggest mistake I see bad Tracer players make is misusing blink melee and blink melee recall. For some reason, lower ranked players think it's really cool, so they try to do it way more than they should. I would recommend only using blink melee recall combo when you absolutely need that 30 damage to get the final blow, or you're already low HP and in a dangerous situation. Sometimes it's even better just to save that blink and not even go for the melee. Trading a blink and a whole recall cooldown for 30 damage just isn't worth it unless it's for the final blow. When you're using blink plus melee, you need to be dodging shots or baiting their cooldowns at the same time. It's really easy to just die when you do this, so make sure you're smart with it. Make sure you're doing it with good purpose, otherwise you're probably just wasting your cooldowns. How to practice blinks. You can use this custom game code to practice blinks. Try to blink around your enemies and adjust your crosshair as much as possible and as fast as possible. This helps you really get familiar with blinks. Try to blink around the map structure how you would when you're playing in game 2. You can even practice pulse bombs and blink melees while you're doing this. Primary fire. It's hard to have good tracking on enemies that are paying attention to you. Try to set yourself up for easier one-clips by playing sneaky. Tracer's primary fire has to reload a lot, so it's really important that you use map structure and blinks when you're reloading. That way you aren't just standing still doing nothing. Try to get in the habit of always doing something while you're reloading since you have a moment where you're not focusing on your aim. Good aim won't happen right away. There's going to be days where you have amazing tracking, and there are going to be days where you have trash tracking. It is what it is, and you shouldn't really focus on your aim too much. Your aim is going to get better no matter what with time, so I'd recommend focusing on other parts of your play that won't naturally improve. Tracer's ultimate, pulse bomb. Tracer's ult is probably one of the highest skill cap ults in the game. I think it's really important to get comfortable with the blink pulse bomb combo. If you don't use blinks before you pulse, the enemies are either going to kill you while you walk up to pulse them, or realize you're going to pulse them and probably dodge it. The best and most consistent sticks are the ones where you are right next to them since they instantly stick. Throwing Kobe's is fun and all, but it's not the most consistent. It's better to make sure there's a very small gap between you and your target, and that is easy as done with a blink. You need to be really familiar with the blink distance to do this, and you should definitely practice this. I won't go over pulse bomb combos in this guide, but generally you should try to coordinate with your teams to make your pulse bomb stronger. Some examples: Halt plus pulse bomb. Hey Orisa, can you pull? Discord plus pulse bomb. Sleep dart plus pulse bomb. Make sure you're careful when you're pulsing heroes like Mei, since they have an invincibility cooldown and the impact damage from the stick does wake them up, so make sure you stick next to them. That way they don't wake up from the impact damage and you can get the kill without them using their invincibility cooldown. Hey Zarya, I can get you energy. Bubble me in 3, 2, 1. There are 3 different types of pulse bombs I like to do. I like the classic blink stick, the 90-degree blink stick, and the 180-degree blink stick. I think the classic blink stick is really good when the person isn't looking at you, since you have time to line up the distance without worrying about dying. I think the 180 pulse is good when you don't have enough time to line up the pulse and the enemy is too close to you. One nice thing about the 180 pulse bomb is when you miss, sometimes the enemies walk back into it since they normally turn to face you and they're already holding their backwards movement key. The 180 pulse is really good versus heroes that have matrix as well, since you can go around the matrix easier. I think the 90-degree pulse is best for shield heroes like Reinhardt and Brig, and people that are AD strafing, since, how do I explain this? Okay, look at me. The camera on me. So if someone's AD strafing like this and you're right here, if you blink to the side of them, then like if you like directly turn 90 degrees, you're gonna stick them easier, even if they go back like this or into you. So it makes it like easier to stick. So yeah, that's an easy way of explaining it. Hope that makes sense. I think the most consistent way to hit blink pulse bombs is trying to stick people when they are stacked. It's really easy to stick people that are in doorways or stairs. Doorways are typically pretty small, which makes them hard to dodge, and even if you miss a person, you might hit someone behind them. When I'm on defensive maps, I like to hold near the doorways since it makes for a really easy stick. A lot of divas and sigmas expect you to pulse around doors, so you might have to 180 pulse to avoid their matrix. You should also try to LOS them until you're blinking in a choke for pulse so they don't know it's coming. If you're just waiting at the door, it's really obvious, so you should try to hide and not make it obvious that you're going for pulse bomb. People often group up when the other team uses skills like amplification matrix. Healing station. I would highly recommend practicing pulse bombs with these 2 custom game codes. The one is versus very easy movement and will help you feel a lot more comfortable with pulse bombs. Just make sure you add bots to the other team in the custom lobby screen. The second one has less predictable bot movement, so it makes it a bit harder and isn't the best practice for first learning, in my opinion. It's really important that you get reps in. When Tracer was a hard lock hero, I would practice my pulse bombs for 10 to 15 minutes as a warm-up every single time I played. Tracer matchup guide. At S tier, I have Mercy, Zen, Widowmaker, Echo, Pharah, Doom, Bastion, Rein. At A tier, I have Orisa, Sigma, Zarya, Tracer, Sombra, Reaper, Hanzo. At B tier, I have Bap, Ana, Hammond, Soldier, Kree, Ashe, Junkrat, Genji. At C tier, I have Diva, Moira, Lucio, Roadhog, Symmetra, Mei. And at D tier, I have Brig and Torb. Generally, Tracer is good versus squishy heroes and heroes with large hitboxes. She's also good versus heroes like Pharah, because even if you aren't killing the Pharah/Echo, you'll be able to kill the rest of her team easily, since one of their supports is probably pocketing the Pharah or Echo.
Jokes on you, dude. What is one?
You're far right side. Killable.
Make sure you are very careful versus heroes with high burst damage and stuns, since they can normally one-hit you. I think if you dodge the stun/one-hit abilities, you have the upper hand in a lot of duels. The only heroes I feel like Tracer struggles with are Torb and Brig. Their kits are really strong and annoying to deal with as Tracer. Normally when the other team has a Torb, I like to go Echo since Echo is such a strong counter to Torb. When the other team has a Brig, I normally like to complain about how stupid and boring our hero design is because, yeah, why not? Generally, Tracer's a solid pick versus most comps, but sometimes there are better options and you should keep that in mind. For example, playing Echo or Doomfist into Lucio Moira comps will probably do more than a Tracer would. Identifying a playstyle. Get in the habit of pressing tab before every single fight. See the comp matchup and see what your team needs the most out of you. Tracer can basically be used for anything. She can be used to deny the other team's DPS.
Oh, where's she? Nice.
One more.
Go Tracer, go Tracer.
The lamp.
Do a scope.
Lamp. Slow. Nice.
She can be used to deny the other team's tanks.
You do this.
Where's that is back?
Mercy one.
Alright, push this left.
Go ball, just go ball. And she can be used to contest the other team's backline.
Sorry, on point.
Oh, Zarya instinct, Zarya. Like hard instinct. Zarya.
If you see your supports are struggling with the other team's DPS, maybe try to look at their DPS more and deal with the problem before your team dies. If the other team's supports are really bad, go farm their supports a ton. If you notice that their DPS are the only ones getting healed, try to pressure their tanks more. If you see a Widow or a hit scan popping off, try to at least pressure them and waste their time. Tracer can pressure almost anything on most maps, you just need to decide what is most important for your team. If you're a duo with a main tank, you should probably try to coordinate and set up dives with them. If you're duo with a support, you should probably try to deny their DPS from farming your support. Play to do whatever enables your team the most. Take into consideration your team's ultimates when making these decisions too. If you see your Orisa has Bongo, you should try to play somewhere in the front line in LOS of her Bongo. Rather than doing a long flank. Pressing tab is so important before every fight. Positioning, using map structure, pathing. Positioning. When you're playing Tracer, try to always put yourself in a position where you can either help your team or flank to the other team's backline. You really need to find the perfect in-between to get the most value out of Tracer. Try to always be able to either help your tanks play aggressive or peel for your supports.
On your mercy. Oh, don't lose. I already do not lose. Get him, Dante. Pull the 15-year-old.
Yeah, I'll step in real quick.
Tracer is really good at denying flanks and flanking, so try to always be controlling a flank or taking a flank. Here's an example of what I mean. Even if you don't get a kill, you're making the Doomfist completely reset his tempo and it protects your team before he's even a problem. A lot of times, it's better to deny a flank like that rather than getting a little extra damage in the front line. Keep in mind, if you're hiding on a flank, you can just take the flank if no one's there. When you have a Zen, try to play off him and it'll be a lot easier for both of you because Tracer plus Harmony and Discord is really strong. Using map structure. It's really important to use map structure to your advantage. Try to always use map geometry to dodge the other team's shots and cooldowns. There are a lot of random objects in maps and you can use them as good cover. Try to always have a safe area one blink away. I would recommend watching streamers because a lot of streamers use map structure really well, a lot of top 500 streamers, so definitely make sure you watch a lot of videos to learn what I'm talking about. Look at their play, try to focus on how they use the map and what they do about it that is so good. Pathing. Always try to look for flanks when you're charging your cooldowns. Play in areas where it's hard for the other team to push you out, but a spot that is safe for you to charge your cooldowns until you're ready to fight. Most people won't want to push the Tracer out since it can be risky and a waste of time just as long as you don't insta-die, which you shouldn't with blinks/recall. You don't always need to be looking for a flank. Sometimes it's best to just poke out tanks and flankers so your team can walk in. Tracer is an extremely situation hero, and your role will always change depending on the comp matchup. Tracer map guide. At S tier, I have Busan, Oasis, and Volskaya. At A tier, I have Lijiang, Blizzard World, and Junkertown. At B tier, I have Ilios, Nepal, Route 66, Rialto, and Eichenwald. At C tier, I have Watchpoint Gibraltar, Kings Row, and Numbani. At D tier, I have Hollywood, Temple of Anubis, and Hanamura. And at F tier, I have Dorado. Generally, Tracer is good on maps where you can play sneaky and there isn't much high ground. Tracer is also really strong on maps where you can force the objective, since it can make the other team panic and send too many people to point. Try to do this whenever you can. I think you can make Tracer work on almost any map, but it just depends on the other team's comp. Okay, frequently asked questions you may still have. I do not have responses for these written out, so these are going to be completely natural responses, so yeah, maybe you can just see what it's like, or what my responses are like without me thinking about them much. Should Tracer challenge tanks or focus on supports? Like I said earlier, it's really situational. Make sure you just look at your comp and look at the other team's comp, and you can make the best decision based on the comp matchup. How can you have good blink control, like not blinking a lot? Try to always make sure you're blinking with purpose. Like, if you're just blinking to get somewhere faster, you're probably wasting your blinks, and you shouldn't do that. Like, always try to use blinks to dodge stuff, dodge abilities and shots. Would you play Tracer in a McCree Hanzo? Is there any comp you would not play Tracer in because it would be too tedious to play around? Yeah, I think Tracer is really good in a McCree Hanzo. You just gotta be smart, gotta be careful, because both of them have high burst damage, so it's really easy to die. The comps I don't like playing Tracer into are Lucio, Moira, Torb. That's like the most annoying thing, because nothing dies, they move really fast, and Torb is really annoying to play against this Tracer. But right now, in the current game balance, I think Tracer's playable into any comp, just as long as you have a Zen. What is your preferred playstyle of Tracer, or what do you think is better, assassination or harassment? It just really depends on their comp and your comp, and like the map point, and it just depends on everything. You have to be able to swap it up. Personally, I like going on the other team's hit scan and Zen the most, or like backline, because I think those duels are really fun as a Tracer player. Poking tanks out is really important too. Just gotta see what your team needs. You said before you do a lot of small things as Tracer to stay alive. What are those? When I'm playing Tracer, I always try to use map structure, like I was talking about earlier. Like, if there's like a sign on the map, I try to like hide behind the sign and like blink around it and make it really hard to hit. With movement, I try to, okay, if I'm fighting against a Hanzo, I like to jump to bait out his shots, and I like to blink to the, like, right when I think he's about to shoot. And I like to do that for any hero that has single shot shooting. Whenever I jump, like the other team, most players like to shoot you at the peak of your jump, so jumping and then blinking is a really good way to bait out shots. But just be ready to know when they're about to shoot. You have to know the timings really well, so you can blink right before they shoot and bait out their shots. How do I manage my blink cooldowns, because I always seem to have no blinks when I need them the most? Just watch your VOD back and be like, why am I, like, you have to ask yourself why. Like, I can't really tell you this, but you need to look at your own VODs and see why you're using blinks too much. Are you just like bad with them? Are you missing them? Are you using them when you don't need to? Like, if you need them the most and you don't have any, then you're definitely misusing them, and you can definitely go into Replay Viewer and probably see how you're misusing them. Target prioritization. When I encounter a team where the supports play close to the rest of the team, who should I target when there's no one else? Target people that your team can't directly deal with. Like, if there's a Doom flanking, it's definitely like really important that you go on the Doom before the Doom goes on your team, because that Doom will just like kill your team. He'll just farm your team. So you need to make sure you prioritize high, like really dangerous things that your team can't contest, like Widow, anything like that. You need to contest, because Tracer has so much freedom that she can do whatever she wants a lot of times. But you also have to be really smart with it, because you can just feed. So make sure you're smart with it, but generally, whatever the biggest threat is, I think it's Tracer's job to contest it. Or the other team supports. Like, if the other team supports have a really free backline, you can just go on them too. Wow. What to look for when you're waiting on cooldowns. Just listen to your teammates, listen to the game sounds, listen for Zen shots, listen for Ana shots. Try to hear where their supports are, listen to Widow shots. Just try to use your ears when you're waiting on cooldowns, because you're probably not going to be looking at them, and you don't want to be looking at them. Flank timing, I think with Tracer, you can flank basically whenever. Try to do it when people lose track of you. So like mid-fight is a really good opportunity to flank. How do you initiate plays on Tracer? Like whenever I get to a Zen and fire my first bullet, the whole team's already staring at me. Also, how do you deal with Mercy pocketed Ashe Echo? Your timing is probably just really bad if you're doing that on Tracer. So try to wait till people are fighting and then go on their Zen mid-fight rather than in the beginning. Like try to use your team's pressure to wait to go in and then go in at that time. And if you don't wait, just be really confident that you're going to hit the one clip and stay alive. You need really good awareness for that. So how do you deal with Mercy pocketed Ashe Echo? If it's a Mercy pocketed Echo, just go kill the other support or other DPS because that person's not going to get heals. Mercy pocketed Ashe, you either have to kill the Mercy and just dodge all the Ashe's shots, which could be hard, or just look for pulse bombs on the Ashe. You can look for one clips when she's scoped in, but that's kind of hard. Just try to contest her because that's 2 resources, and if you're stalling both of them, then that's like a 2v1, and it should be 5v4 for your team. Tracer against double hit scan, good. Why is any form of long range hit scan, Ashe, Widow, plus Tracer such a good comp? I think the damage is just really consistent. Like, you have Ashe and Widow, really consistent damage. You can get people low from across the map. Tracer can finish it off. Tracer can peel for both of those. She can like control space for them. I think they just have really good synergy in general. Probably like a million other things I'm not thinking of right now, but it's really late and I've been working on this guide for a while, so sorry. Does one clipping a person happen in real games? Does it point on a more high level skill player? It happens sometimes. Normally it doesn't. Like the better supports are really aware. In Overwatch League, the good supports are really aware, and it's really hard to one-clip them. Like, even if you have, like, aimbot, you wouldn't be able to one-clip some of them because they're just really aware, and their second support is always really aware of where Tracer is. Like, the other team's always like, where's Tracer, where's Tracer? Or they're always thinking about it, so, yeah, it's pretty hard in real games. It is possible, you know, like, sometimes, like, Tracer just has, like you'll just have the best aim and, like, the best spread RNG. But a lot of times, people are ready for it, so it's not as easy. You need a combo with like a dive or like a pull or some sort of thing. Alright, that was my Tracer guide. Thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I might do more guides, but probably not for a while because this was really exhausting. Maybe I'll do a Sombra guide next. I don't know. But our season starts really soon. I'm going to be practicing a lot. I'm going to be streaming a lot, hopefully. So, yeah. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you, everyone.